Hello, 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 everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Pat Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. Happy month end, and what a month it's been. How is everyone doing? We got the PCE info out this morning. Remember, we have consumer sentiment coming out at 9 Central, so about 55 minutes from now, and that will probably be market moving. Let's see. Good morning, Ken. We'll get to Tesla in a minute. I see your comment. I'll bring that up when we get to Tesla. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Josh. FPCE climbs zero point 0.9, core rate increase of 0.3 for second month in a row. I'll show you what I think the real interesting number is. Davey, Apple down 1.21%. Yeah, after we finished our live stream yesterday evening, then they essentially their guidance was supply chain and issues, so that dropped. Amazon we covered in the stream down 10.44. Roku up 4.77. I think it's just a temporary short-term bounce. Facebook down, or Meta, sorry, down 7.74. Teladoc, is it down again? I have not looked at Teladoc this morning, but I know Kathy bought more. She just keeps buying it. Down 3.16. Tesla up 1.68. Elon sold 4 billion. So those forms were filed. Hey, George. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning, Anna. Welcome. Good morning, Sashi. Elon selling. He sold. I think he's got to give it a break for at least a couple days to let it try to bounce back. So all the buyers will just step in because he's done selling and they'll run it back up so he can sell some more. But we shall see, won't we? We shall see. By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term subscribers, please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel. We are trying to grow it with some of this good information. So, again, as we already talked about, the PCE numbers. I mean, you had the forecast 5.3 coming in at 5.2, so slight under forecast. Something's coming right in at forecast. So, interesting one to me was this employment cost index. Forecast 1.1 coming in at 1.4, and that's something that's not going away easily, okay? Unless we have a pretty substantial recession with layoffs and everything else, because labor costs don't go back, and that's not directly supply chain related. So keep an eye on that. We had a little blip down in the markets when these numbers came out. Also, really focus on consumer sentiment, whether beat could make a higher than expected could be a little pop in the market. Lower than expected could trigger a sell-off. And we have the rig counts coming out at noon Central, which will potentially move oil. FOMC still 50 basis point, and gamma still in negative gamma territory, but off the extreme levels from the last couple days. So we had Exxon, Chevron. They missed on EPS, but they beat on revenue. I know that. Did not check out Phillips 66 yet. So we can peek at that if you want. Again, this live stream is for everyone here. Thank you, Anna. The dog is doing better. Neck and back issues on steroids and muscle relaxants. So, and got to keep him very calm. And that's tough with 4 other dogs. But yeah, something happened to the neck. So we shall see. Thank you for asking. Again, I really appreciate that. So after we left the live stream yesterday, we did have, Apple came out. Let's just peek in at Apple real quick. So it dropped, as you see, down pre-market, up from where it was last night, but still down from the gap. And that caused, especially the NASDAQ, a pretty big gap down. Remember, closing up here, opening here, so opening down here. So closing yesterday was 13,454.75. Opening then came at 13,219.50. So big drop. And yes, I got asked the question last night, do the gap fill things work on the futures? Yes, they work the same. And if you want, we can take a look at that. Really key is this daily rotation zone. If we start getting above that, then I'll start watching for the pop into the rotation zone. But this key resistance, as I talked about yesterday, In order for it to get a more sustainable rally, we need a close above 13.7, really 13.7, what, 36 area. And we have a cluster up here with the harmonic projections. So again, I'm still just watching for a pop. Now, based off this information, we are in this sloppy flag pattern. There is not a lot of great setups going into this morning. So I've just not found a lot of great setups for short-term trades. I mean, long-term is still bearish. We'll see if we can follow through on any rally, but I'm really watching these channels. Slightly bullish above, this is NASDAQ 13,380. I start getting bearish below about 13,170. Okay, so that's the key levels I'm going on. If we start breaking down here with momentum, I'll watch for some of the retests of these low prices, especially about 12,989, then 12,809. We break above this 13,375, then I'm really going to go into the high area from yesterday. Don't even need that line. About 13,543 to about 13,579. Then through that, we have 13,633, then the cluster area 13,725 to 13,740. Okay, S&P again, the same thing I'm watching. I'm just watching these sloppy flag patterns. We start breaking down below about 42.30. I'm then targeting the bottom of this channel, which comes in about 42.13. Then I'm targeting 41.99, then 41.83 to the downside. To the upside, minor bullish above 42.58, a little more bullish above 42.76, and then I'd be targeting the upper channel line with some this high area and the 62.5% harmonic of 4,300. So again, but longer term, remember, still in bearish mode, and we are against the daily rotation zone on the daily. So we could easily roll over at any point. It's, again, tactical trading today, and you still get end of month rebalancing today. So we could just be in for a very choppy back and forth day without a clear direction. That's why if I don't have anything concrete, it's sitting on my hands. Good morning, Amit. Good morning, Lauren. A shake and bake today. We could see some back and forth price action. I'm not seeing great setups for shake and bakes. It's just I think it could be choppy. Again, that number at 9 is going to really be key, I think. And then it could just be end of month, back and forth price action unless we really get some momentum bars. Separate from momentum bars, I'm going to just... unless there's good short-term setups, there's nothing. Because longer term, I'm still watching for that rollover again after this little bounce play. Will it happen today? Don't know because of end of month. So we shall see with that. Amazing the strength of the market defending 12,800 and 410, 412 area. It is pretty interesting. It's when that breaks, it's going to be very interesting. And when you're talking 12.8, you're talking NASDAQ. See, when it gets down here, all right, it's stair-stepping lower, but there's a lot of buying still stepping in here. But when this really breaks, watch out. That's going to be the big move. That's nothing I'd want to step in front of. The Dow, again, I'm still, flattening out rotation zone, but we still have this lower target for the double that's still in play, even if it pops up to the prior breakdown zone from the double. It's still in play. It's just hard. I answered that question yesterday. Yeah, it could be shortable again up here with very tight stops. Again, there's just not a lot of great setups even in the Dow. It just looks like crap. There's not even a good channel here. We had this little double trigger. That's the only thing. And it's almost a triple. It's really sloppy. So we have this little setup, but we need to get some selling on the open to really get a move on. And these are just good short-term targets. If you need something to target on breakdown, you have this little trigger. I'm using the conservative targets, 13, 555 area, 33,500, which I'll really focus on the 33,441. So that's where that's looking. Russell, again, popping back up, rolling over with the rotation zone. There's nothing going on from the bullish side, even on a rally in the Russell. It'd just be a return to the rotation zone. I'm more watching for any breakdown plays in here. DAX sitting here caught between my two key levels. Breakdown of 14,055. Breakout, it needs to get a move on about 14,180. Crude continues slight up move higher. It's getting into a pretty major resistance area. We might get some movement off those rig counts, but I don't have great setups right now, even on a short-term basis. This is just as sloppy. This is not a double top pattern. It's just a sloppy mess up here. So it's pretty much pullback areas. I'm watching about 104.70 to about 105 to see if we pull back, rotate up there. Otherwise, it's just a slight positive bias. Again, there's not a lot of great setups. Gold popping today a bit. So this is, remember, it was try to grab some here and then take some off. So it's still trading around the core position. Nothing yet in silver. Still going to watch for that pop in there. Still sitting at the add zone. Notes rolling back down at this point. So we're getting into where we can start watching for that potential double bottom again. So that will get interesting. Again, you need this move below the 75%, about 118.26, and then we do have a potential longer-term double bottom play again. So there's nothing from the bullish side right now. I'm watching for a little farther pullback and see if we make that pattern. Dollar index, slight pause, but key support coming in at 102.37 on the daily basis, and right now it's sitting in that 4-hour rotation zone. So if we start breaking below this 102.80 level, I'm watching for the bigger pullback. I'll watch for a resumption of trend above 103.50. VIX up slightly, but nothing substantial in the VIX, coming to the daily rotation zone and rotating up. I will really start paying attention if we start getting some momentum in the upside VIX. I figured you'd want your Qs, options 22. Qs, I mean, it finished the double yesterday. Hope you got to take advantage of that. We're down again back here. What you're watching for, you're watching the key support level of about 322. We start breaking below that. We still do have a pretty big gap fill, and here's where I just use your harmonics. So right now it's trading 322, roughly at this, see this support zone right here, about 322 to 322.55. We start breaking below there. Short-term targets, again, this is going to be interesting and probably choppy today. I'd target the 62.5, 320. You start getting something like a 1 hour close below that or momentum below that, especially with the 9 a.m. number coming out. I'd use like 318 as my next lower number. Then we still have a little gap fill down here. So you're right around the 87.5 harmonic, around 316.79. For the bullish case, this is where there just aren't great setups today. I'd just be keying off the harmonics, 324.30 area. Then if it does get a stronger rally, 326. And keep in mind, you're going to have the gap play to the upside. I can't really map that out really well, but we can do it roughly 322.95. So I'm going to give you an idea here. Then we'll get to Tesla in a second. Roughly, you start getting above 326. Then I'd go for a more substantial bullish case and really targeting that full gap fill up to 327.95. Again, this is going to have to be nimble today. I got to get back to Ken. Ken, I'm assuming, let's see with Tesla. Again, you had the Elon selling. So we're getting that pop pre-market. Going to watch to see if we get momentum in here pre-market. But is there an aggressive buy? Let me check this daily. daily, you'd have to get aggressive buy in the daily would be a close above 918. On the 4 hour, you get a close roughly about a close. I'll give you the exact number above 899.40 on a 4 hour basis. You're going against the rotation zone. I would be surprised if it gets some traction, especially if NASDAQ gets some traction, to see a pop up. 930 now. I have the clusters on here. Here's what I'm watching. Again, I have my reverse harmonics. So you have against the 1 hour rotation zone, you start getting above this about 897 area, which we're trading 893. Then I'm watching for a return to about the 918. Then we got 930. Then we have the next harmonic coming in at 942, and there's a harmonic cluster up there. Keep in mind you are into the 4 hour rotation zone and you're against the daily rotation zone. So these could be short-term pops, but then longer-term rollover plays. To the downside, we'll watch for the gap fill. The gap fill, I can't really map that out too well right now, but we're going to put on your harmonics, and if you break below that 62.5, the gap fill. And then the key level now on the downside for me is about 865. We break below 865. Oops, wrong direction. Sorry about that. Break below 865. You start getting a close on about the 15-minute below 857. I'm going to watch for the retest of some of the low areas yesterday. So that's my Tesla stuff. Let's see. Good morning, genomic stock. We are like in the same spot at the last Fed meeting. Maybe we get the reaction expected. We'll see. And remember, Fed meeting next Wednesday. Is the COVID low on the index fund a target that could be reached this year? The COVID low on the index stuff. Again, the COVID low. Could the COVID low be reached this year? If we get some horrible market action, I'm really focused, I told you, from the COVID lows to the highs on that 50% level first. If we get a close below that 62.5 retracement, which I've gone over before, and I can maybe review it again after today on the market wrap up, we can take a look at that. We could test those, but until that happens, that's a long way off. We'd have to get some very bad information. Sterling, welcome. Consumer staple company CL missed earnings by 0.54% and beat on revenue, down almost 5%. And again, supply chain issues. I know their guidance came in, again, longer term. I don't have anything in this until we're back between the 50 and 62.5. I think this is a little steep overreaction personally to the move. I will watch for a bottoming pattern around 76.40 right in this area if we get something in here. But if we get a close, if this rolls over and gets the close below 76.40, there is nothing going on in the short term. Now, if we start getting a base forming and can really get above, either I get a really good bottoming pattern or we start getting a move back on above about 77.77, then there will be an eventual gap play target. But that would be the short area I'd be watching. I think this is a pretty severe overreaction, though. They have some supply chain issues, but, and that's affecting a lot of companies. Earnings coming in roughly in line, a very slight miss. Revenue, a very slight beat, but they've, the bigger thing is that all that supply chain and what they're looking at. Do you do Amazon full long term? Amazon, I'm not bullish on right now. There'll be another great buy in Amazon. See, we're down below our 2600 harmonic. 2535 is the next key level. But longer term, Amazon's numbers were ugly. I definitely think we're going to hit this 2535 over the next while, which is the 200 week. And that's a pretty major level. If we get at least a short-term bottoming pattern in there, there could be a play. But right now, I'm not standing in front of this, especially since it's broken. You have the 3 bottom pattern here. You're into a clear path move, and we pretty much have a clear path move all the way on a weekly basis to that weekly 200, which will be key. So there's nothing I'm touching in Amazon. More so, if it does rally, I'm watching for short opportunities. Would you look Tesla bounce considering reversal yesterday? And he announced he's done selling for now. Keep that in mind too. So, because he's still got to figure out funding for the whole Twitter deal. Yes, it could get a bounce. I gave you those levels that I'm watching. That was a Q comments. Hey, Christoph, you are welcome. Positive sentiment on Nike this morning. Is there anything you see on the chart that supports that? On Nike, this is a mess of a chart. There's not. I don't have this. I mean, you're going to have eventually a double weekly bottom play, but there is pre-market is down. I'm more expecting this. If this lows don't hold the 116. So pre-market we're 125. I mean, technically, I don't have a short-term anything in this. This is just a mess on the daily. You still have some gap stuff to the upside. Ugh. Nothing. I'm more interested if this plays out longer term with this double. Or watching for something if it comes back lower and keeps, I'm keying off the weekly 200. Let's see, we had this double top I forgot to map out too. And it's hit the first and second target. I'd be more focused on still downside rollover plays in this. Rollover plays, it could still go lower and keep this double in play. It would probably shift to this side of the with the targets, but down, you could still come down here and form and keep this double, but that's it. Because with this pattern being triggered and it's already hit the first and second targets, we still have some more room to the downside. Nothing I'd stand in front of, and it's ugly on the daily. So Apple. No, I haven't covered Apple yet. I mean, the only thing with Apple is there's a slight gap play to the upside. That's it. Other than that, we're still against the rotation zone. Gap down is recovered from its lower price action from last night with that guidance. But the only thing from Apple is the short-term gap play, and we have the rotation zone. I'm getting more and more bearish on this on rallies, so gonna watch for another rollover play in that, but I really have nothing besides that little remaining gap play. That's it. That's gonna be the driver this morning in Apple. Gotcha. It's a redheaded stepchild now. Yeah. So yeah, for Nike, Ted, there will be plays again, and it just don't for. One thing I'm just going to reiterate one more time is, especially Friday, end of month, if you don't have plays today, if there aren't setups, there's a couple potential gap plays, but if you don't have good setups, this is not the day to force anything. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Just peeking back in on the S&P. See, this is a mess. Everything is we'll get some opening price action, but then it's really going to be that consumer sentiment number at 9 a.m. to see if we can get any kind of move going on. Otherwise, we could be really, really choppy. With that, don't chase. Again, don't chase, don't force. If you don't have anything to do and you don't have to work today other than you're investing or trading, take the day off. If there's nothing to do, you get through the open. Let's take a look at Roku because there could be something in that. But again, Roku long term, I'm going to reiterate, is a sell for me still. But If we roll over, there could be a gap play. Again, the key resistance coming in at 97.40 to about 98. So we're headed into the daily rotation zone, and there might be an interesting gap fill play with this, which I love. You see down here off the harmonics. Off the harmonics, there was no great bottoming pattern besides some divergence play down here. But then you had the earnings come out. So that's all I'm watching for. A pop and then a rollover into the 4-hour rotation zone and against the daily rotation zone. And from the bigger standpoint, major weekly double top, easily still more downside longer term. So that's the only play I have in Roku. Thanks, Ramsafal. I'm going to get ready for the open in 1 minute. So cut it rather close. I will talk to everybody. If you want to do a wrap up and ask more questions after 3:30 this afternoon Central Time, I will be here. Have a great day trading. Again, don't force if there's nothing going on.